Welcome all to the September 28th Board of Selectmen meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start with public announcements. Anything, Mike?
Nope, nothing tonight.
Kevin?
No announcements.
Jim?
Nothing tonight.
Alex? No. I have one. The deadline to request an absentee ballot by mail will be 5 p.m. on the fourth business day before the election. The deadline to request an absentee ballot in person will remain 12 p.m. the day before the election. Mail-in absentee ballots may be returned in person, by mail, or by secured drop box in front of the town hall. Any voter who has returned an earlier absentee ballot that has been accepted cannot vote in person on election day. Voters will be able to request a hand-delivered absentee ballot if they have been admitted to a healthcare facility after 12 p.m. on the 7th day before an election. The deadline to register to vote for the November 3rd state election will be Saturday, October 24th. Registration will be offered from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. A table will be set up in front of Town Hall. In-person early voting, remember to wear your mask, October 17th to the 30th, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Saturday, October 17th and October 24th from 2 to 6, and Sunday, October 18th and 25th from 2 to 6. And that's at the town office buildings, 500 Glenowitz Way. Anybody here for public comment on anything that's on our agenda tonight? I was told there was one person here that wanted to speak on the the discussion to reopen special town meeting. I'm going to actually allow you to speak right when we get to that article, so it's fresh in everybody's mind when we talk about it. If anybody else wants to speak on anything on tonight's thing? Seeing nothing, we'll move on. Our first thing on the agenda is a 6:45 public hearing, which we cannot do yet, so we'll move to approve the minutes for September 14th meeting.
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th, 2020.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of September 14th, 2020, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Adoption of the housing production plan. Scott, did you want to speak on this?
I think we have Wayne.
Oh, perfect. If that's who he really is behind that mask. Can't tell who's who. Wayne, welcome.
Hi, I'm Bruce Hughes, 69 Raymond Street, Abington.
I knew that, Bruce.
Vice Chair of the Planning Board and also Chair of the Abington Housing Committee. Old Colony Planning Council has prepared a housing production plan for Abington, and I have to read a little bit of it. The Planning Board has adopted this. We're going to ask you guys to adopt it tonight. I'm just going to read a couple of things, and I'll try to be brief with this, just so that everybody knows what this is. The housing production plan has been prepared in accordance with the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development guidelines and provides a framework and strategy to increase the production of affordable housing in Abington. The plan includes a comprehensive housing needs assessment and details housing production goals and strategies aimed at meeting these needs over the next 5 years. This is 2019 through 2024. A summary of key demographic, housing stock, and housing affordability data from the Comprehensive Housing Needs Assessment, as well as an overview of the plan's goals and strategies is detailed below. Please note that data in this plan is from the U.S. Census Bureau's 2000 and 2010 census, the 2012-2017 American Community Survey, ACS, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD, the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, MassDOT, Metro Boston Population and Housing Projections 2014, the Warren Group, Mass GIS, and the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as well as other needs. At the time this was written, the town of Abington was at 7.62% of affordable housing units. This is as of August 21st, according to the Department of Housing and Community Development.
What was that number again? I'm sorry,
This
Bruce.
was as of August 21st. I'd have to look up the current number. But as of August 21st, 2019, the town was at 7.62, and, you know, the town has to, I think everyone knows that you have to be at 10% affordable housing where you offer, you know, the 40B.
Not to interrupt you, but do you know how many units that equates to?
In terms of this, well, I'm sure this is in the report. Yeah.
Okay.
This report is on our website. I can get you copies of that, but the main thing is that the planning board has approved it. And I wanted to point out something in here. That Scott, you know, with the housing committee that we have in Abington here, he's like spoken in front of people. I shouldn't be nervous, I'm sorry. Goal 2, establish a municipal affordable housing trust to support local housing initiatives. And I'm also on the Community Preservation Act Committee, and I recused myself from that vote, but the committee voted to put money toward that, and we're going to vote on that hopefully at town meeting this fall, and Scott was a great help with that. So, you know, it was kind of cool that a lot of the goals that are in this housing production plan are going to be set in place. And I said, planning board approved it. I didn't work on this, but the two people who worked on this, again, because it involved the town of Abington, I'm a 30-year employee of Old Colony Planning Council, and I'm always very careful to recuse myself in an elected official in this town. So I'm always very careful to recuse myself from anything involving the town of Abington. But I can lend a certain amount of expertise, being a 60-year resident of the town. So it's a great plan, and planning board supported it. We'll be trying to put something out of this into use for the town, and I just ask for your vote to support the recommendation of the planning board to endorse this and adopt this document.
Thank you. So hearing that, I don't know if everybody got a chance to read it, but I'll accept the motion. If you're ready to make it, if not, we can, if you think more discussion needs to be had, we can put it off to our next meeting.
No, I don't think, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I think it's something that we need to move forward on. I think it's right in line with Scott's goals and objectives. So I'd make a motion to approve it.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any further discussion on the adoption of the housing production plan on the endorsement from the Board of Selectmen? All those in favor of endorsing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you for your time, Bruce.
Thank you both.
Next up is a request for appointment to the CPC, the Community Preservation Committee. Kathy Creighton. One application for one spot, right, Scott? That's it. Thank you. So she was on the CPA since, as a member of the Conservation Committee, has since resigned from Conservation, but wants to go on as a at-large member. She's not here, right?
Yeah, we actually didn't invite her only because with the road things that were in here, I wasn't sure if we'd end up with
Okay.
a capacity crowd.
I have a feeling that won't hurt her chances. We'll now take a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kathy Clayton to the Community Preservation Committee.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the appointment? All those in favor of appointing Kathy to the Community Preservation Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations, Kathy. Scott, number 4, vote to hold a public hearing on roadway acceptances. You get that done in 5 minutes?
You just want a motion to hold a public hearing next, I think we're doing it actually October.
The 5th, is it? 6th?
We'll do that, we're gonna have to do it on a Tuesday, so, yeah, the motion would be to hold the public hearing on Tuesday, October 6th, for the purposes of the roadway acceptances.
So what will happen at that hearing? The applicants will come and,
The plan will be here, the applicant will come, we'll have a recommendation, obviously the planning board's already reviewed it, but they'll have their actual vote and recommendation.
Okay.
And that's about it, and then you'll vote accepting the layout and easements and stuff like that for it to go to town meeting, which town meeting will make the ultimate decision.
I see. So we're just voting to hold the hearing to get it on the town meeting warrant?
Correct.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That is unanimous as well. And vote to declare miscellaneous surplus equipment available for disposal in accordance with Mass General Law C-30B. We don't have anything in our packet on this, Scott.
No, I have a list of items here. It's only 7 items. It's DPW surplus. We have a 2005 F-250 pickup from the Water Department, 2008 E-250 wheelchair van from the Council of Aging, 1985 Dodge W-350 pickup. It was the old forest fire truck, I guess. 2005 Ford Crown Victoria, must have been a cruiser. We have a Chevy Model 917 asphalt roller, a Waukesha trailer-mounted pump, and a trailer-mounted tank with pump. So all these items, if you so declare them surplus, I'll put them out for auction.
The department heads move these forward to you, or how does the process go?
I will put them on a company that I've used in the past called Auction International.
But I'm wondering, who declared them surplus initially?
We are going to declare them surplus, but it came from DPW.
Okay, so
And these all actually came right from that one department. I haven't solicited other departments yet to see if they had anything.
do they make a decision, do they contact the other departments to see if they can be used in town, or do they just?
I think in the conversation I had with these things, some of them have, for the most part, been used as parts vehicles.
Okay.
So they've already sort of cycled out, and there's no value left otherwise. You don't have the policy, but in my policy and the policy that you eventually will have, will require that, the first thing you do is you offer it throughout the town to other town departments. But these seem to have made its way from other departments.
Okay.
Can't we just call Jim Conley to take it as scrap metal?
If he's a little bit better.
If nobody bids on it, Scott, just put it on Facebook. Jim will pick it up in the morning.
Be there by 9:30.
So once these are listed and they're sold, we'll get an update on?
Yeah, once I get assuming they all get sold, I'll get a printout from Auctions International that'll sort of give you everything you need, give you what what we ended up selling it for, and what the, be a check to the general fund, basically.
Do we hold on to them until they're sold, basically, or do they get picked up and taken to a site?
They'll come by, they'll take pictures, they'll look if they need titles, they'll do some research to get any titles or any paperwork, but it just goes on a website and it stays in our possession until it's been a verified sale and it's guaranteed.
Is it an internet sale?
The auctions are done electronically, yeah.
Okay.
And those funds, where do those funds, are
They'll
they?
go back into the general fund, that
Okay.
will come in as revenue.
Alex, did you make a motion there?
No, but I will if you'd like.
No? I don't care either way. I thought I heard you make a motion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to declare the list read by Scott as surplus equipment and authorize him to contact an auctioneer.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of making it surplus equipment?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that is unanimous. Thank you, Scott. We'll now open our 6:45 public hearing. The Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on September 28, 2020, 6:45 in the Cotter hearing room, 500 Glenelg's Way to transfer the common vehicular license to Portofino's Italian Kitchen, 396 Brockton Avenue, from Taha Zidan to Khalid Ahmed and Dinel Diaz. I'll take a motion to open the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, the hearing is open. Do we have representatives here?
Yep.
Guys, step up to the mic, please. Give us your name and address for the record, and let us know what you want to do.
My home address or the,
I'm sorry?
you said my address, sorry.
Yeah, or the business address is fine.
396 Brockton Ave, Abington, Mass.
Thank you. And you're looking to transfer, are we transferring to you or from you?
No, transfer to me and Danielle.
To both of you, okay, thank you. It's a common vehicular's license, what are you looking to do? Same thing, that's,
Same business, we just transfer the ownership.
are you guys keeping the same hours?
Everything the same. We've been working in the store for 10 years, maybe over 10 years too, with the previous owner.
Okay,
So we know everything in the town. The same hours, the same building, the same, everything the same.
thank you.
You're welcome.
In our packets here, we have emails from fire department, building, police department, all with no concerns on the transfer. Any questions from the board?
I have none.
I have none.
Everything's staying the same, and you've been there all these years anyway, correct? Yeah. I'd make them, well, it's a public hearing. so-
Yeah, I want to open it up for public comment. Any abutters or residents want to speak, have any questions, concerns? Seeing none, with no other questions, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Unanimous, hearing's closed. I'll now accept a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on approving the transfer? All those in favor of approving the common vehicular license transfer, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, guys, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Next up is discussion and possible vote to reopen the special town meeting warrant. Scott, did you want to give us a background, or?
Yeah, so this gentleman here, Mike Mashawati, he has come to, or he submitted to the Selectmen's office a request for a citizen's petition prior to closing the warrant 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, his request did not have the requisite number of signatures on it. He came in, it was pretty much the end of the day, so we did not have an opportunity. He had, I think, 9 signatures, and we need 100. So he has requested that...
How many signatures does he need?
100. It's a special...
Oh, okay.
So he has requested that, he went out, once he found that they were in error, he went out and looked for more signatures, and they got the requisite number. However, obviously, we've closed the warrant, so he's requesting that we reopen it. I've discussed it, I've asked counsel. Obviously, you don't have to reopen it. There's a lot of issues involved if you do reopen it, as far as getting a hearing, a public hearing that the planning board would have to hold on this petition in a very short amount of time. I'm not saying it can't happen. I think it's the two problems with it is A, timing, and B, our limit on capacity for a public meeting. Because other than town meeting, any other public meeting, we're required, we can't have more than 25 people in the room, unless you hold it outside, obviously, which, so I don't know, and not having been here, not having been a part of what the process was when you initially approved places that sell marijuana, they could potentially draw a significant crowd. So those are the things that you have to consider. I think, obviously, Mike, you know, he has an argument that I think you want to listen to, and it's definitely something that it would probably bring some revenue to the town. But again, I don't know what the sense of this town was. I wasn't here or involved at the time when you guys initially approved this.
So what is this, for an additional license?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was for an additional, and I think, Mike, you could probably explain a little bit, but it was for an additional retail license. Is that correct?
Mike, step up to the microphone, give us your name for the record and address.
Michael Nashawati, owner of Nashmack LLC, 654 Washington Street, Braintree. I've been in talks with the town of Abington for going on 2 years now about opening a marijuana retail, marijuana cultivation, and marijuana manufacturing facility in the marijuana overlay district. The first property fell through, so it took us a little bit of time to find the second property, but we did so. I prepared a quick little letter to the Selectmen. I don't know if you guys wanted to look it over while I spoke, but
That's fine, you can,
it might help you sort of follow along.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So it is my understanding that 100 signatures are needed for the special town meeting. I was unaware of this information going into the deadline, but after I was informed from the clerk's office that the signatures that we did gather, I think we originally brought 15 or so, 6 of them are around there, were not from registered Abington voters, and additionally, come to find out, we need 100. So I went forward and I collected the signatures and got them in as quickly as possible. I think they were submitted the following Monday. The deadline was a Wednesday, and so it was around 5 days delayed. Reasons that I think you should consider opening the warrant and allowing this petition, primarily due to the nature of COVID, surveying for signatures is extremely difficult, and logistically, you know, things move slower. There were a lot of homes that, you know, simply would not answer the door. In addition, about 2 months prior to the petition being submitted, I reached out to the town manager and the planning board regarding the town's capacity to allow a cultivation and manufacturing facility in the marijuana overlay district. The initial response I got was that the town would not allow it, and the ordinance did not allow for such a business to be in the town. I was instructed to write a opinion letter on that to town council. After a couple weeks, town council got back, and they informed me and the members of the clerk's office, planning board, and the town manager's office that it was allowed. So that caused a significant delay in my not ability, but we weren't going to move forward with any of this if we weren't allowed to do cultivation and manufacturing. So that caused a delay in the petition gathering, and also, I know it's no excuse to not know the procedure for submitting the petition and the requisite signatures, but due to the time crunch, it was, you know, I feel like that may be a reason to reopen the warrant. Additionally, we are certified economic empowerment and social equity candidates from the state's Cannabis Control Commission, which grants us priority on the state level, and the state really wants us to be involved in this industry. That's all I really have. Thank you.
So, I'm confused on this because I did not think that we approved cultivation manufacturing at town meeting. Maybe the town moderator could enlighten us. I thought we approved 2 retail licenses only. But retail licenses for the amount that the state would allow, set the limit.
All right, Sean Riley, 271 Dorsey Street, Town Moderator. Wasn't here for this. I want to disclose, I represented another retail license holder that's been granted, so I'm not here to oppose his, I'm not here to support his. I was here for a completely different reason, didn't know it was on the
I'm
agenda.
just looking for clarification on what the town meeting voted, if you know.
I didn't prepare to talk about this because I didn't know it was on it. I do know that we currently are limited to 2 retail licenses. Only one has been granted. There is another applicant that I believe is still going through the planning board process. And I think I'm assuming you're number 3 in line?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Yeah. I don't honestly know what the cultivation license issue is. If you asked me a year ago, I was fluent in it, but now I don't know. So, sorry, I can't answer that question, but I'm sure he's done his homework.
So it's my understanding that at the original town meeting where the selectmen decided on the 20% cap, based on the amount of liquor stores or stores that sell alcohol not to be drunk on premise, the ordinance states that the retail caps will be at 20% of that number, which I believe is 9. You round up in the case that it's not a whole number, so that means 2 retail licenses were available. The previous town manager, who I was speaking to last year about this, was under the impression that the town was capped at 2 retail licenses. They weren't allowed by state law to have any more than 2 licenses. I had to go through the process of giving an opinion again about the state law, but eventually the town confirmed that that 2 is actually a floor. They're not allowed to have any less than 2 because the town voted over 50% in favor of allowing this use back at the 2016 election. So I'm not sure if it was a confusion amongst the town when the ordinance was originally written, but the 2 is a floor. I don't want to get into the details of the petition because I don't think that's appropriate right now, but it's pretty much what we're trying to
My
explain.
point is, did the town allow cultivation?
Yes,
We did.
based on the plain language of the ordinance.
That's my
And
That's my
that
understanding.
reviewed by council.
I don't remember it that way, but town council says we did. We did. There was a lot of confusion that night.
I'm reading an article right here that says we did.
Okay.
We allowed marijuana testing and cultivation.
All in the same district.
I don't know about
Yes.
that.
Okay.
Within the community, it says, it's a newspaper
I
article.
know what's going to happen is, I'm not the only one that was confused on this issue that night, and a lot of the residents are going to be confused on this because I think a lot of residents didn't realize they were voting to allow cultivation too. But if that's what we voted, that's what we voted.
It's more common for towns and cities to restrict retail licenses as opposed to cultivation just because there's no direct-to-consumer.
I'm not saying I'm in favor or against it. I'm just saying how I remember town meeting that night, and it was very confusing the way it went down. And I think people voted not knowing, kind of like the ballot questions on a ballot. You know, they're almost intentionally confusing for people. But that being said, I think it's up to the board.
I have serious concerns over the precedent this would set. Like, where do we draw the line? Like, we drew the line, we closed the special town meeting warrant, and now we reopen it for you, and then somebody comes tomorrow and says, wait a minute, I have 100 signatures, can you reopen it for us? So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm personally for or against what you're trying to do, and I do feel bad. I know how hard it must have been to collect signatures during COVID. But I would be concerned to vote to allow it just on the precedent that it would set.
Well, and I think because it's such a controversial issue, I mean, maybe that shouldn't play into it, but I have a problem with reopening it. I would suggest that you get it on for the annual town meeting.
Scott, what was the actual deadline for signatures? Do you know the date?
The date,
Yeah, it was...
the day you voted on it, that would have been, that was the deadline. So you voted to close it 2 weeks ago? So anything that came in up until that vote, we could have put on there.
So the 9/16 was the deadline.
Is that the last time we met? Yeah.
Okay. And you had submitted your signatures on Monday, the 14th.
I believe it was the 21st, the Monday following the 16th. The original petition was submitted the Monday before the deadline, 2
Petition
days
was
prior, yeah, the 14th.
The petition with the signatures on 9/14.
Yeah, and then the additional signatures were submitted the following Monday.
So did the town reach out to clarify between the 10 and the 100?
Yeah, they reached out to my attorney, Ron Whitney. I didn't hear about it until the deadline had passed. Unfortunately, I think that's, but we are trying to, so because we're economic empowerment, we're allowed a wholesale delivery license, which it's unique to this economic empowerment certification I have, and no other businesses in the town are proposing this as far as I know, but we are allowed to deliver outside of the town borders, and Abington would receive the revenue of those sales that happen outside of Abington's border, as well as the cultivation and manufacturing that would bring jobs and substantial tax revenue to the town. The reason we're requesting multiple license increase is because we would like to be able to also have a retail storefront at the premise. We want it to be a sort of self-contained, full-scale processing, manufacturing, retail delivery operation.
So this is in that whole warehouse behind Wayne's Sleep Shop?
The cultivation, manufacturing, and delivery headquarters would be in the warehouse portion. If we're allowed to move forward with a retail storefront, that would happen in the actual retail. It looks like a house.
The mattress?
Yeah, in the mattress.
Okay. I mean, I love the sound of the revenue for the town. Like Tim said, though, I just,
I think the issue is the warrant, and I have to agree with Tim, I'm not too comfortable with, if we open the warrant up for you, then somebody else could come in next week and say, hey, I wanted to put something in too.
and on the other hand, do we open and let the people decide at town meeting what they want to do?
I mean, either way, it still goes to a vote at town meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're just allowing him to move. I guess my question, did you or did your attorney drop off the signatures at the time?
I dropped off the signatures.
Did the town clerk tell you right there that you needed 100? I mean, it'd be
I
pretty
asked the
obvious.
town clerk, I said, it's a 10-signature requirement, correct? And she said, I believe so, yeah.
I mean, that's my problem, is
That's where I
that
take
it seems to be a, you know,
I didn't know it was 100 for a special town meeting.
Well,
That's why I questioned you when you said
I guess,
100.
and that's my thing is, you know, do we have that posted? You know, this gentleman went through the process, I mean, if he dropped off 16 signatures, I mean, I'm pretty confident that that's going to show that's not 100 signatures at the time. I mean, if that's something that should have came up then.
But just to clarify, I don't believe he dropped it. I think he brought it to the town clerk's office, but I think it was actually the assistant town clerk who was there, right?
I'm not familiar.
But yeah, once she brought it up, she brought it to our attention up in this office and said, I don't think there's enough signatures here. We looked it up and said, yeah, there's not enough. And immediately reached out to Ron Whitney.
And even then, there wasn't 10 valid signatures.
There wasn't even 10, no. No, some of them weren't even Abington residents.
They were all Abington residents, just some weren't registered Abington
weren't
voters. I
registered.
wasn't aware that they had to be registered Abington voters. We're a small startup business, first time going through this process. Had we not been delayed with the whole information regarding not being allowed to bring manufacturing and cultivation into the town, I believe we would have been able to easily meet the deadline. We're allowed to move forward with a request for manufacturing and cultivation. Just fiscally, financially, I don't believe it would make sense just to bring a cultivation and manufacturing facility into the town without some sort of ancillary delivery or retail component with that. The cultivation tax revenue you would see would be substantial, along with the retail and delivery tax revenue the town would see.
So the article is for an additional retail and delivery.
The article requests language change to the ordinance, specifically the 20% cap at the 9 liquor stores. We're trying to increase that. I think the petition calls for a 50% cap, but we're willing to bring that down to whatever the town would be comfortable with. I think 50% would increase it to more licenses than we need personally for retail and delivery, but it just seemed easier to ask for, a whole number like 50%, let the town decide how they feel about that, and if necessary, we could request to have that reduced to 40% or 30% or something along those lines.
Scott, have the 100 signatures been verified already since?
So it's, how many, what's the total signatures we have now?
There's over 100.
So the article you want is to change the cap.
Yeah, the cap that was set at the original meeting, I believe it was set based on information that was a state maximum
I thought
allowed.
it was a state maximum, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it was a minimum. Because the residents voted over 50%, you're not allowed to discriminate against marijuana retailers in favor of alcohol retailers. That's sort of the protection that the state law provides, in which case the 20% is a state law. Towns that voted over 50% have to allow 20% retail licenses for marijuana based on how many liquor licenses they have, but many towns don't cap many towns and cities haven't capped their license.
I'm not doubting you, but have you run all this by town council?
Town councils will.
And everything he's saying is correct?
Correct.
There was a lot of confusion that night at town meeting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we submitted our host community agreement request one day after the second license was, the second host community agreement was written, so we've been involved in this process from the beginning, and we really want to get into Abington.
It sounds like you know your stuff, and you really did put forth the effort. It sounds like there was some misinformation somewhere. I'd rather get it on there and let the town decide. I do understand your point, Tim, like we do it for one, but again, he was under the assumption from an employee in town saying, oh, 10 is enough.
Allegedly, I mean, somebody comes in tomorrow and says the same thing now, hey, that worked.
No, I get it.
You know, and I'm not, and I don't want to seem like I'm doubting you.
I understand.
Because I mean, your word's fine with me. But, I'm really worried about the precedent. My line of thinking, it really has nothing to do with the bill. I honestly hope you get to town meeting and let the people decide. But I don't like the precedent of opening the warrant after we closed it.
Well, we have opened it before.
I'm sure we have.
We have.
I haven't.
No, we haven't, but we have opened for other things in the past.
The precedent has been set, it's been reopened prior.
Right.
What are the requirements if we reopen it? Do we have to keep it open for X amount of days? We can,
You open it, you can put
We
this on and...
can, we can close it tonight, right?
Yeah.
We can open it and close it.
In fact, I recommend you do.
And that's what we've done in the past.
I mean, the board has done it before. I agree with, let the voters decide.
And I don't have, my only other caution I want to put to you, and again, one way or another, I think the voters should make this decision. The revenue would be great for the town, but we are trying to have orderly, limited, separation at these town meetings. We've
That's
had
the
capacity
issue.
for about 100, and, Sean can probably answer, in the annual, we were prepared to go into an overflow situation in the gymnasium, School wasn't in session then, we weren't as worried about it, but again, I don't know what the sentiment in this town was around this last year when you voted it, so I don't know what sort of participation you would expect to get from it, and it may be something that is more suitable for an annual when everybody is able to participate.
If I could just speak on that, we've been granted 3 years of exclusivity from the state for this wholesale delivery license. The reason that we don't, 7-month delay until the annual town meeting may not seem significant, but it cuts into that 3-year exclusivity period significantly. The reason the state put this, the Cannabis Control Commission put this exclusivity period forward is to allow businesses like mine and the other 120 businesses or individuals across the state the opportunity to try to get a foothold in the industry before big business comes in and,
It's already happening.
moves ahead.
Well, if we go this route, Scott, you said something about the planning board, he has to have a meeting with the planning board?
Yeah, he'll have to have a public hearing with the planning board, they'll have a hearing on it. I can't guarantee, the timeline, they hopefully could get it in, they have to advertise this hearing, so it's no guarantee that, it'll happen, they'll do their best.
They have to have a hearing prior to town meeting?
Oh, yeah. It's
Public hearing?
And what do they need to
They
advertise?
probably have to advertise, I'm thinking 14 days before the hearing. It's just going to be a tight timeline. That shouldn't prevent you from making your decision. If
Right.
it can't happen, it just, at town meeting, it would be that, the article would come up and we wouldn't be able to take, I'm guessing, any action on it. Now, that being said, hopefully, they'd be able to get a meeting in,
We have 21 days.
What's that?
21 days until the special town meeting.
So we'll have to have a meeting before.
So, planning board's meeting Monday night, they would have to decide then to get it on, and they're not gonna have 14 days to do it anyway.
No, I think if it's something they're going to do, I don't think the planning board has to decide to do it. I think the admin would just put it on their agenda and put the advertisement out. Again, we'll discuss it, if you guys so put it on, we'll do our best to make it happen, but, we are up against it.
This will be a 7-figure investment into the town as far as the build-out and the acquisition of employees goes. It's not something that we're going to mess around with dates on. We're going to move as fast as possible.
If this was approved at town meeting, what is your time frame?
So the time frame for the retail component is relatively quick. It's just a matter of building out a storefront. Because we have priority on the state application period, that's generally taking about 6 months to a year, but for us, it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to a month until we get approval from the state. So the retail component would move quickly. The cultivation facility is probably about a year build-out, maybe a little less. Manufacturing would be around 6 months. The cultivation build-out, it'll move as quickly as we sort of
What
are
does
able
it
to
take
make
to
it
grow?
The revenue's there, it's just a matter of getting the blessing of the town.
Now, you said a delivery service, is that personal delivery service or wholesale?
So the state is going to be voting on the license. The draft amendment was just passed. They're creating a new license. It should be approved by October 29th. It's a wholesale delivery license. We'd be able to buy wholesale, warehouse our own product, and then deliver directly to consumers outside of Abington. Abington would see the local sales tax and any sort of community impact fee that you guys see fit.
Any other questions from the board? Anybody want to make a motion? The motion would be to open the warrant for a special town meeting.
I'm going to make the motion to open the warrant for the special town meeting for this gentleman to get on.
And I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of reopening the warrant for special town meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Special town meeting warrant is now open again?
And I would make a motion to close the warrant.
First, somebody should probably motion to put the article.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, we probably should do that before we close it.
Thank you.
Come back for the next week and we redo the same thing, right?
Do we have an article written up, or?
There is,
I have a copy of the petition
Would
language.
you read the article at least? Yeah.
to vote to see if the town will approve a change to section 175-24.3D of the town zoning bylaws so that it may read as follows: number of licenses, the number of recreational marijuana retailers and/or recreational marijuana delivery only retailers permissible to be located in the MOD shall be limited to 50% of the number of licenses issued within the town for the retail sale of alcoholic beverages not to be drunk on the premises where sold pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 15. In the event that 50% of said issued licenses shall not be a whole number, the limit shall be rounded up to the nearest whole number.
I'll accept a motion to put that warrant on the special town meeting, that article, excuse me.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Just based on the language of the state, when they do release the language for this new delivery license type, it may not be called a delivery-only retailer anymore. It may be called a wholesale delivery license. I'm not sure if that's going to be an issue, but
We'll let the lawyers decide that. Because I don't know either whether that would be an issue. But for now, it's motioned and seconded?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of putting that article on the warrant, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that vote is unanimous. So now I'll take a motion to close.
Motion to close?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of closing the warrant for special town meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that vote is also unanimous. Thank you for coming in, thanks for your time.
thank you very much, Selectmen.
You're welcome. Now that we have a warrant for special town meeting, next up is to discuss the warrant for special town meeting.
I thought we just discussed all that.
That was on one article. 20 more.
Really, for the most part, my intent was to get the warrant out to you, let you take a look at it. Obviously, I think we'll have all the votes by our next meeting. We'll have all the votes of the Finance Committee and the recommendations of the Finance Committee. And I will ask you to make your recommendations.
So we're not going through it tonight to...
No, I will also have, I think in my report I mentioned, I will ask Sue to come in on that night too, and we can talk about that way any of the money questions or anything like that you want to go over. We can get, her and I can sort of give you the best answers.
I think I had asked you a question before we went live about why they are submitted by petition, so maybe just for the viewers, if you would explain that again.
Yeah, and so you were asking specifically about the road acceptances?
Right.
Yeah. So those were submitted by the developer, the developer of the roadway. So they're not submitted by the planning board. They ask for the town to accept the roadway and ultimately ask for their bond back.
Because the planning board holds a bond when they start the development until the
Yes.
road is accepted.
Correct.
And once it's accepted, the developer gets their money back.
Once it's complete, yeah, they don't always get accepted, I'm guessing, but but once the road is complete and it's been signed off by the reviewing engineer for the town,
Right.
they would close it out. Yes, sir.
Again, Sean Riley, Town Moderator. I'm just wanted to check, because it's a special town meeting, we have to get the warrant out, I believe, 14 days in advance. So when are we going to print? That would be, we need to get it out, I don't know if you'd say this Friday, the 2nd, or by Monday, the 5th, which Monday, the 5th is 14 days in advance of the October 19th town meeting. I reviewed, I know Sue and yourself have been working a lot on this warrant. There's a couple of minor
Edits.
yeah, mostly typographical things, nothing of substance. So things flow that night. But I just want to, I know Sue was watching the calendar about publication and sending out, posting the warrant as required and sending out notices. So just to keep that in mind, you guys might be reviewing it after it's been issued, but I know you've been reviewing it on a continuous basis.
But that would just be for our endorsement of the articles.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
It can go to print before we endorse or not endorse.
Yeah,
Obviously, the recommendations could be set at town meeting.
Right.
right. The Finance Committee is required to make a recommendation. You're not required, but you're always free to.
Right, I think that's what we did at the last actual annual town meeting, is I believe we did our endorsements after, after it went to print as well for that.
I think so, yeah.
And it was, I think we were in line with the Finance Committee on everything, so it was easy enough at town meeting just to say that. But so anyway, so we'll discuss that at our next meeting. But we now have a copy of the special town meeting to review between now and then. Any other questions for the moderator or town manager on this?
Thanks for coming, John.
We could go over it if you want.
I'm good with it. I've read it
We got that for
several
next
times.
week.
You'll discuss it on the 6th, Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, my preference would be, yeah, the vote recommendations too. So we'll go through each article.
Next up on the agenda is to discuss the performance review process and criteria for the town manager. As you know, is when we recently hired a new town manager, we put together a subcommittee to come up with a new review form for that. The reason I asked for this to be on the agenda was we kind of made that subcommittee and haven't done anything with it. Scott, I believe it's in your contract on when you get reviewed. Don't know if you know on hand.
I don't know.
I know it's in our policies that we do it, I want to say every January.
I believe it's January.
January, yeah. Sounds familiar. So, so with that coming right around the corner, January, I figured, who else was on that subcommittee with me? Was it Kevin or?
I volunteered.
It was, Jim. I wasn't sure who was. I know it wasn't Kenny or Tom, so. So Jim, we should set up a time to meet and go over. I know, Scott, you had left us a couple of recommendation or
Well, these are
examples,
just
I
a
guess.
couple typical performance evaluations. They're kind of cookie cutter. It probably wouldn't hurt if you wanted, you could touch base with Jamie, reach out to her directly, Jamie Kenny, and ask her if there's anything that she would recommend. You know, we're probably I'm gonna try and come up with something, and, you know, as we get into my report later. You know, as we develop overall policies and employee policies and personnel policy and plan, you know, there'll be some sort of performance review that we would want to do internally, and it would probably mirror that. You know, it's kind of very basic, though.
Is this the one that we have been using?
I believe so. I think
Yeah.
Nancy found this one.
Yeah, it looks familiar. And in the past, each selectman has met with the town manager individually to discuss a lot of these items.
Yeah, the way I did it my first year on the board was, I met with him before I filled it out.
Right.
I filled it.
And then you went home and you filled it,
We put it all together as
exactly,
a
yeah.
board, we averaged up the.
Everyone turns it in to you.
And the
then-
chairman
Right,
then
yep,
meets with to review the final.
right.
the final signed performance. But yes, to meet beforehand and just give the town manager a chance to talk and
Yeah.
give his explanation.
So you guys will come up with a new form over the next month?
Well, that's my
or so?
goal, and I
Yeah.
guess I want to open up discussion right now, just to, if there's anything specific you want to see on it, or where we stand at this point. I mean, we'll certainly meet as a subcommittee, me and Jim, and then come back to you guys for more recommendations, maybe meet again, and then finalize it, and then,
Be ready for January.
right, the whole board will finish it. But I think if me and Jim meet, probably.
Order pizza?
Yeah, I know a couple places. But if we meet before our special town meeting for the first time, get the ball rolling, and then we can have this on our agenda after that.
Yeah, so I think if you took the two of these and,
I have another copy myself, too. I don't know where I got it, I think. It might have been one that we used before, but either way, I have it somewhere, so that's, that's another thing, and I'll reach out to Jamie. She's represents a lot of different towns. Any questions, concerns about that procedure, I guess?
We'll get together and pick a date.
and then it's something maybe we can do second meeting in November or whatever.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about it in a couple different meetings before, just to make sure we're on time for January. It's, certainly being Scott's first performance evaluation, very important, probably the most important one, to
Yep.
really set the expectation. And then, honestly, it's a little unfair that he hasn't had the evaluation beforehand, so he knows what he's being graded on, but
Well, I submitted all my goals and objectives, and obviously, if you want to amend them or adjust them, or if you're not happy with them, I certainly would like to know before I pursue them.
I think we already discussed
I think we discussed that.
I'd like for a very awkward evaluation if I've just gone rogue.
But certainly, yeah, we'll expect more, coming into the next year, another set of goals and objectives, so. Any other discussion on that before we move on?
No.
Okay, town manager's report?
Okay, let's see, special town meeting, so you have the warrant, and as I mentioned, I will ask you for your recommendations on October 6th. The Assistant Town Manager, Finance Director will be present at that meeting and any meetings after that we need for those discussions. We'll actually be quickly wrapping up special town meeting, but we're going into budget season now anyways. So we're going to be starting to do all of our budget meetings, and, I'm assuming that we'll have some of the larger budgets in here to discuss with you. Some of the complaints that we've had recently, the Adams Street complaint, that one, the members who were on the board back in May probably remember that came to this board requesting my expertise as a fence viewer. I went out to take a look at what was going on out on Adams Street, and this is, I believe, 662 or 665. There are a couple of residential properties that are zoned or in an industrial zone. One of the properties has begun to turn the use to an industrial use, and it's causing some issues. When I went out there to look at it, I felt that there were some issues, not really fence issues, but zoning and planning issues, so we turned the matter over to the zoning department and the planning department. They've been working on it quite a bit. There's weekly letters and fines and contact with the owner, trying to get him in to resolve some issues that he's had there. The complaint coming to you is really from Mr. Kearney, who is asking for you to take action on it, other than, so my answer to him, as he's made the complaints, has been, well, the selectmen, when you made the initial complaint, we turned it over to zoning, because that's who actually has the ultimate authority. But he would like to come in and speak, because it does read in your bylaw that the selectmen will make some sort of a determination. So I think you should give him the opportunity. I think we should let him come in here. I had a nice conversation with him today, and he's got some very valid arguments. I'll follow up with the building commissioner and the zoning officer in the morning also, but the way the bylaw reads, we should give him the opportunity to come in here in October and address the issue.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you let him know that today?
I did.
That it would be on that?
Yep.
And he was happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, he really just wants resolution. Unfortunately, it's just all bad timing. I mean, this all started in May, just as we were closing the world down. And then we're asking someone to come in and apply for a zoning and a planning permit, but then we stopped having hearings. And, for a couple of weeks or a month or so that you couldn't even get into town hall. So it was issues like that, but it has gotten old, and we do want to see it on our end. We'd like to see it resolved also.
Thank you.
The Niles Street issue, as you all remember, was the sidewalk that we had the contractor who busted up some sidewalk in his work, and we were able to get that done. We took it after we met and the board looked at it and urged us to take a stronger look at it. We found some old Google Earth images that did in fact show that the sidewalk was intact before the new house went in, and the contractor, Marshall got the contractor to come in and take care of it. So we got a message from Ms. Matiosis to thank us for dealing with that. Early voting, I'm not going to go over that. You went over it in the beginning.
Sorry.
And nope, that's quite all right. Again, we just want to mention, please wear a mask when you come into town hall. And if you're not feeling well, please don't come to town hall. We have a couple open positions, as you're aware of, the Veteran Service Officer. We have 12 applications that we received. We're actually going to start, we're going to go review them in the morning and start booking some interviews. We're hoping to have, before the, mid to the end of October, to have somebody in here. I think, as we mentioned earlier, we've decided to move away from being a district with another town. I think that we're better served, and our veterans are better served if we just have a full-time person in here that's devoted to our town.
Scott, who's going to be on that panel for the interviews? Do you have a panel put together, or?
It will be myself and the assistant town manager.
Okay, no, like veterans agents or anything on the board?
The veterans agent who's currently with us will assist us, yeah.
Okay, but no one else?
Tom.
Okay.
No. There was no intention to, no.
I just didn't know if you're bringing in other local people or not.
No, I think, and I have to say, the veteran service agent that we do have, Tom, is very capable, and he'll be missed. He's done a great job. I think he was stretched thin working between a couple of communities, and it would be great if he'd stay here and just work full-time for us, but he's retiring, so, but he will be a help. He's going to be a huge help in onboarding somebody. He'll stay as long as necessary, and I think he'll be a huge help in getting us through the process, too. The sealer of weights and measures, we received 5 applications for that, so, we're just going to deal with our VSO officer, get that in place. That's more urgent, and then we'll jump on the sealer of weights and measures. Road paving, begin on High Street. It should begin, I said it was going to begin next week, so it's going to be High Street from 123 to Groveland. And then he's also going to be paving Highland Road, and they're hoping to have the paving all wrapped up by the end of October. Summit Ave, again, another one that we had a complaint on. The heavy exclusion zone is in the works. Old Colony Planning Council should have the traffic counts done by the end of October. I think, Jim, was it you who alerted me that it's actually, I guess if you were to put it in your ways, or the maps are recommending to avoid the traffic, they're telling the trucks to go down there. So we're doing what we can to avoid that and to take care of it, because it really isn't a great road for trucks. Sorry. Updating the personnel policies. This is a carryover. I had this in a previous town manager report. There is one thing, and I had a meeting with Jamie today, and amongst the items that we discussed is we do want to bring in to this board a whole list of a personnel plan, personnel policies, that includes job description, includes benchmarking. It's not a sort of a quick and easy, let's throw it together type thing. It's going to be a process. Initially, I think when I put it in there, what I didn't have in there was the selectmen will review the draft policies. So Jamie does recommend that we come and see you first, and it would be with a good list of policies that basically you'll take a look at and give us the authority or that, yeah, you know what, we want you to go down this road. And then the next step to that is we have to impact bargain or present it to all the unions. So, like I said, it won't be quick. It'll take a bit of time, but we're just looking forward to getting something started and getting it done. There was a process that was started last year, or maybe the year before. So they have, we have some draft policies in place that we can use for a beginning, but again, I want to bring them to Jamie and we have to review them, so.
So Scott, I missed that meeting, so at the time, I wish I was there for that one, but I know that as the board does have the say in the policies, I have probably about 15 to 20 policies that I would like to move forward, so are we going to be talking more in depth about it at one of these meetings, or?
Yeah, actually, it's going to be very soon. I'm going to ask Jamie to come in, and I think we'll probably have, because we're going to be doing some, we've got strategy sessions that we're going to have. We'll be doing some negotiating pretty soon. So I think we're going to end up relatively maybe in November meetings, because I don't think we could get it in October. And in the November meetings, we'll ask Jamie to come in and sort of go over this whole process. And yeah, anything that you want to add or comment on, yeah, definitely, we'll give you plenty of notice to bring it to the table. But there'll also be an executive session because we have to discuss what we're going to be doing as far as going into negotiations.
Okay.
But I would definitely say that's in November. Don't want to put it off much beyond that.
Definitely.
Event permits and policies. So I've initiated a project with the Recreational Department to develop an event permit and policy for groups and organizations that wish to use town properties. Currently, only procedure is in place for scheduling the athletic groups for field use. The town does not have a clear policy or procedure in place that spells out what board has the final authority to approve the use of town property. The past practice seems to be that the Recreation Commission has been dealing with it, and I think that that's fine to a point, but my recommendation is that the Recreation Commission will continue to schedule the fields for the athletics. Selectmen will review and approve all other event permits. Will require any groups or organizations just to fill out a simple request form. Let us know what the number of people are, dates, times, what what the purpose is, and any other pertinent information, and then we can review it with recreation, police, fire, building, health, and just to see if there's any comments, concerns, if we need to close down streets, close down parking for them, or, offer any assistance. We can review that, and then those recommendations can be made to this board to ultimately say, yep, you can go ahead and use town property.
I have one question for that. If, say, God forbid, there's a tragedy and like somebody wants to have a vigil and the Board of Selectmen aren't meeting in between the time of that, will there be something in there to?
Yeah, I think, for
Yeah, the town
smaller
manager
groups,
can-
yeah, if somebody comes to us and it's something 25 people or less.
Yeah,
It's
but I
up
mean,
to that
even if
effect,
you
I
wanted
think, yeah.
like 100 people for an emergency situation, something,
Yeah.
or a short notice thing, because we only meet every other week. In the summer, sometimes it's once a month.
What we could put on there then is probably something that would authorize you to make or authorize me to make it with the assistance of the chair. Something to that effect for an emergency.
Just a thought to put that
Yeah,
in.
no, that's a good plan.
Scott, on that one, how does it, would you differentiate, like, the fields at the schools? I mean, a lot of the fields are at the schools. Are they under the purview of recreation or the school department?
I think that there are certain fields at the recreation, and mostly, I guess, it's probably out in Island Grove, and then where the soccer fields are, and wherever the youth sports play, I think is typically been scheduled through recreation. So we obviously have to work with them, but I think I also have to reach out to the school and have them involved in,
Yeah, we have a considerable amount of fields around the school, so I just could see that being,
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know that it's been a problem. I don't know that you've gotten a lot of the requests. We just recently had a request for a vigil that went to the Recreation Department, and as the Recreation Commission was looking into it, it brought up more questions that made me think, you know, we probably should streamline this and make it easier for people in organizations when they want to have these events. They should be able to just go on our website, grab a form, fill it out, submit it to me, I can give it to Kelly, give it to everybody. And certain events, you know, if it's a smaller group gathering, it's not a big deal, you know, but if we find that we have, you know, it could be a road race, you know, somebody wants to have a road race, and it may require us to, you know, if we're so inclined, to let them use a piece of property and close down a couple of roads.
Yeah, I think we definitely need, you know, one central location where they're going through. Because that's not how it is now, and I've heard complaints from residents. So I think it's a good idea to do that, and like you said, you give it to Kelly, you give it to this one, or the police chief, or whatever, but I think it needs to go through one central location.
So we'll get that, that'll be up pretty quick. It's not a lot of heavy lifting, it's just, you know, throw a form together and get it on the website. But I'll probably ask, once it's done, for you to review it and vote it, obviously, and make it a policy. CARES Act funding, the second submission to CARES Act is almost complete. The amount is an additional $592,436.79. This added to the amount of the first request less what was not allowed, so it's a total of $1,371,109.84. Again, the Assistant Town Manager Finance Director will be present at the next meeting, and I've asked her to give you a more comprehensive update and sort of background on what's going on with the whole CARES Act relief. I attached a copy for the MRI management study implementation. I got an update from the Deputy Chief. You can see his copy in there. He's got a lot of the items that were easy or you know, easily put on in a short amount of time. He's taking care of it and he addresses it. I think it would be nice to have him in here in November, if it's at the, you know, obviously at the pleasure of the board, if you'd like to have him come in and give you an update and let you know what the next steps are, or you can ask him questions if you like.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Abcam and I recorded a couple of segments of Town Manager's Corner, met with the fire chief and the chairman of the Fire Station Building Committee, and that'll be coming out after the next Pizza Boys episode. I did actually have a nice meeting
We're a great lead-in for you.
at Strawberry Valley. Unfortunately, I have to retape it, so. And speaking of Strawberry Valley, Strawberry Valley Abington Appreciation Day is Sunday, October 4th, from 7 a.m. till noon. It's free golf for all Abington residents, so they're urging everyone to come down, enjoy a great day, get a free T-shirt. Many years they give out hot dogs too, but because of the pandemic, they're not giving out the hot dogs. It is for residents only. You must call ahead to make a reservation. Carts are not included, but they will be available for a reasonable fee. That is all I have to report.
Good job.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody have anything they want to maybe see on the next agenda, or?
I do. I'd like to bring up a couple of items. I'm sorry if you want to start down that end.
Go ahead, you go first.
Couple of things, and I know I talked to you earlier, Scott, but just so the people at home, I've received some complaints regarding New England Art that appears to be nothing going on there. There's siding flying in the street and different things. And I know you did talk to Marshall, so if you would give us an update on what he said.
Yeah, as far as, you know, as far as now, the latest update was just that there is a contractor in there. They're working in an at-risk permit. They're just doing minor stuff inside, petition work. They have been working with the engineer for the project and the architect for the project to get it fully permitted. I've seen some emails. I know that he's been on it, on the owner. Town council's been involved, but I will ask for a more comprehensive update, and I will also forward the complaint of the debris flying
Okay.
around, too.
And the other thing, one of my neighbors brought to my attention again over the weekend, the traffic going down my street. I know, Old Randolph Street, I know you had the police there a few weeks ago, and it seems it's good when the police are there, and, yeah. But if you could ask David to do that every once in a while, the neighbors would appreciate that. And I think, again, a lot of the traffic I see is in the morning, so I think people are avoiding Route 18 to get to Weymouth, coming down Hancock Street and going that way to Pickett Street to get to Weymouth. So hopefully when Route 18 is finished, it will be better, but if David could just have that on his rotation every once in a while, it would be appreciated. And one other thing I'd like to put on for a future agenda to discuss a possible tax break for restaurants and bars in the town for fiscal '21. I think they've been hit the hardest with the COVID. We had places like Stop and Shop and Target and Walmart and Dunkin' Donuts. They have all seemed to have done okay during COVID, but I think restaurants, and we don't have chain restaurants in this town except for Wendy's, I think, is the only one. Everything else is a small family business. And I'd like to just get it on the agenda to discuss how we can help them with possibly a tax break or deferred tax for so many years, whatever, but I'd like to at least get it on to discuss that.
And I'll ask Sue and Sonia to give me some updates on what the implications would be for
Right,
members.
exactly, and what the numbers could be, and sure. And that's all I have.
Anybody else?
Alex brought up a good point, and actually, I'm going to just piggyback off of that. Also, wouldn't mind having Chief Majensky maybe put a guy at Washington, Adams, and Shaw. Recently, my son's been taking the bus, so you're standing out there in the morning, and the number of cars that you see run that stop sign, especially coming from Adams, thinking they just continue over, maybe just some high-intensity stuff for a little bit, not even looking to ticket people, just say, hey, that's a stop sign, this, who has the right-of-way, just some informative stuff, because people have been killed there in the past, and it's just bound to happen again.
Yeah, honestly, for anybody on the board, really, I think you guys all have the chief's personal cell phone number.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly have his email. I've had to contact him a few times about, residents reaching out.
I know he's pretty
very
good about...
responsive about this stuff.
Absolutely, yep.
Especially when it comes to traffic issues. He's been very responsive, so feel free, anybody, to reach out to him directly. And that goes for the residents, too. Please reach out to the police department if you seeing issues, especially with school buses. I got 4 little ones, too, Mike.
But that intersection, we had talked
I know there's been quite some discussion on it over
Thought
the
they were
years.
looking at, thought they were doing
about
something on
doing
it.
something like up on
In Whitman.
Monroe Street,
Oh,
where Monroe Street comes out to Plymouth Street,
Oh, where they
I
curve.
thought,
where they curved it and
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
And I know the late Jack Buckley and I were talking about that, and then I got off the board in 2000.
I thought Old Colony was doing something with that. They were doing like the New England Art Building, that intersection there, and those 2 intersections at once. Tim, I don't know, Jim, I
Yeah,
don't
so
remember that
I
last
think,
That's the planning board was.
It was something, right?
I don't think, it was discussed. I don't think it was in
think we
the
ever
final
did anything.
I've
plan.
seen a plan for it. I have seen some plans and some recommendations, but I haven't seen one for that.
There was some stuff they were gonna do, it wasn't the full.
maybe that's something we could reach out to Old Colony
I think we
Planning
should look into
Council.
that.
Yeah, I'll ask John Stone. He's great
Yeah.
at getting...
Because
to-
there has
Ask the
been death
planning board to
at
what
that
they're doing with
intersection.
us plans on what they have to do,
Yeah.
because I think there might be a couple things.
Oh, so there's some sort of mitigation...
I think
that
there was
they're
a
supposed
couple
to-
things.
Okay.
But the planning
Gotcha.
board will answer that.
and my one final thing, something that came up over the weekend, people having a hard time getting a hold of us, the selectmen. I know the website initially you used to be able to click on people's names, and it would give you this form, and the form would go, now that we all have town emails, I was talking to our IT guy, he said it's just a matter of, as long as we want our town emails on there, which I see no reason why they shouldn't be, it's a town email.
That was the point again, town emails.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
Literally,
plan was to put you all on there.
it literally took 10 minutes, he did it today, so.
Oh, they're all up there?
No, he wanted to reach out to everyone. I didn't want to speak for the entire board, but,
No, I think that's something we've been asking for a long
Yeah.
time, I think.
Yeah, it was hit and miss on the website. Some
Yeah.
people had them up, some didn't.
Yeah,
so,
I'll follow up with them tomorrow, make sure they're all on there.
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Scott, could you follow up on the website too, just, I mean, we've talked about it around and around, about
I had a
actually
meeting on it the other day, that, yeah, we're,
redesigning it, or,
we're gonna spruce it up. I mean, first, we're gonna initially start off by getting everybody to update all the departments to update their information. So they're all gonna do a review and see what they have on it. And then, yeah, we're gonna spruce it up, make sure that we have user-friendly. The discussion I actually had was also considering whether we wanted to put out a questionnaire just to see what kind of information, I'll put it out on Facebook or whatever, that some sort of a survey to find out what basically the users are finding, what they're not liking, what they're not finding, and to sort of give us an idea of what they'd like to see better. But, yeah, we started that last week, and that's our goal, is to get that kind of up and looking much better.
you know, I know Wayne does a good job, so, but, I mean,
Well, it does, but he needs people to,
I think
to tell them.
The department
we,
heads still be doing, yeah.
can we incorporate maybe like, maybe some high school kids, that, you know, give them some experience in websites? I mean, is there anything we could?
I'm gonna reach out to, because, yeah, that's come up, people have mentioned it, and I'll reach out to Peter Schaefer about it. I'm just not, it always sounds great, and then they, I don't know if it's a reality that there's kids out there that actually want to work on a website for, but if it's true, if we can find them, it'd be great.
I mean, input from the town as well, from the residents, like you said, a survey, I think it'd be great, a questionnaire.
I think that's kind of, that's where I want to start with it. Meanwhile, we'll take what we have and clean up what we have, but, a big thing that I noticed early on was it just requires the consistency of everybody's department to make sure that they have what they want on it. I think Marty's probably got the most space and most real estate used up these days with this, everything's COVID-related, but, again, that's something that we're all going to work on. We're actually looking forward to it.
And do you have any update on the water main, the water department?
Yeah, so just as we were sitting, so the repairs have been made. They're waiting on DEP just to approve everything, that it's going to be okay, and they can hook it back up. In the meantime, still conserve. That was probably just as I was coming in here that we got the latest update that it is done. They're just still waiting on DEP. Fire says that, everything went fine. You didn't have any issues. You had water when you needed it, and, knock on wood, it wasn't a problem.
Was this just just an older pipe, or was it like a?
I'm guessing it was an older pipe, but it was under the actual plant, the Rockland plant, so it was like in a very bad spot, and it was feeding from your water source underneath. So they had to bring in pumps to pump it up, take that water and put it into their reservoir area.
Is it something like infrastructure they got to look at, or is it
Yeah, my
just more
guess
of
is
a?
we're going to be hearing something coming our way pretty soon that's going to be probably on a town meeting warrant.
Okay.
But I'll ask Joe, he's still, obviously in the thick of it, getting this all wrapped up, but I'll ask him for an analysis of what he thinks, A, caused it, and B, what we can do to avoid it happening again.
And are we back to full staff in town hall yet? I know last, I think I ask every meeting, but there was some departments that weren't coming in full staff. Is that fixed now?
We have been full staff. There's a few departments that alternate where people are staying home and working from home, and it's for two reasons. One, it's to keep our capacity is still 25. So when everybody's here, there's not a lot of room for people to come in and do their business. We have someone who's keeping an eye on it. There's also issues with people who may not have childcare, or they didn't have childcare, or their kids weren't going back to school, or the kids are home being learned, and if it was the ability, if we had the ability for the people to work at home, that was still part of the governor's order, was to work at home if at all possible. So it's not a lot of people, there's a couple of them, they are productive in getting their stuff done. I will say, almost all of the surrounding town halls are still closed. Whitman's not open unless you make an appointment. Rockland's not open without an appointment. Duxbury's not open without an appointment. You know, we opened before anybody did. We got ourselves back up and running. The staff was eager to do what they had to do to keep us running.
Understandable. I just didn't know. I mean, it seems like we got, the schools are back. I mean, teachers are back. We have first responders that are working every day. I just didn't understand why there was still some people out, but.
It's very few, and it's really just trying to rotate so we don't have too many people in any certain spot.
I mean, something that maybe we could look at is, because we can't have so many people in, could we maybe, like, a couple complaints I've gotten is that town hall's not open at night. Can we have them working nights then? Could we maybe open a night or two, and that way
have to impact bargain that.
you're not worried about different, you know what I mean? Having so many people in an office, but.
Yeah, that would become a union issue. It's open for discussion, but I don't know. I think, you know, money would be better spent in updating any infrastructure or making it easier for people to do things online. To be quite honest with you.
Which the website needs to be revamped. so.
Exactly, but if,
So
you know,
they can't do
if
either right
most
now.
of the things that you're coming into town hall to take care of,
Like building permits, we should be doing that online.
if
Most
you
of
have
the
the ability
towns.
to do it online,
Yeah.
it's there, it makes sense.
It makes sense, but until that ability's there, doesn't it make sense to open, and again, I understand the issue with the impact bargaining, just one night, so people know, hey, I'm working all this week, I have this Wednesday night or this Tuesday night that I can come and do my permits, do my whatever.
Most other towns have a late night.
Well, apparently you did have a late night.
We did have a late night, and if you want to look at the numbers of people that actually use
Again, if it helps one person, it's helping someone.
Financially, is it worth it? I mean, I know what you mean.
I mean,
Marshfield.
How much can someone do at home right now? If someone can't go on the website and do something, to have that person at home doing something, so now it's all funneling through half of the staff that's here working double, and then having to, you know, are they dictating it out to people at home to do the work?
Well, just
I mean,
the history, because I think you brought it up last meeting, and I did mention it, but I think the history, when you did have a late night, to avoid, you needed to make budget cuts, and to avoid furloughing or laying people off, you reduced, or layoffs rather, you reduced hours. You reduced everybody from 37 hours to 35 hours or something to that effect. So you closed early on Fridays and you reduced whatever late night that you had before. So if you, again, I mean, if you wanted to entertain having it, you could do it. It's just how we shift the hours around and have the people.
Well, really, I think
what are
it
the
would-
services that you want to provide? Which ones are they?
It would be the building department and town clerk, probably. And we have a building commissioner, we have a zoning enforcement officer, we have a secretary in there, we have a part-time building inspector in there, so I think if we were going to do that, I mean, they could rotate on a weekly basis.
Is that what the other departments are doing now? Are they rotating days on and days off, working from home? So is it equal? I mean, is that what it would?
Yeah, there's very few that are working from home. And it's not on a rotational shift, no.
Okay.
No, and again, like I said, I mean, I'd be happy to bring it up. I think it's probably something that they're going to want to impact bargain.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking, I mean, the ones that I think the primary people that we'd be talking about are in either the management union or the clerical union.
Understandable. I mean, especially in this time right now with COVID, I mean, everyone has childcare issues. Everyone, I'm sure, would love to work from home if they could. I mean, there's many different avenues, but I think if we could maybe open up night hours and that would work, that would serve, you know, benefit the town and the residents. If they can't be in the office at the same time,
The other towns will do their 40 hours, like Marshfield, I know tonight they're open till
Yeah.
7, but they leave at 12:30 on
Yeah.
Friday. But they're still getting their 40 hours in because it's 8 to 4.
Yep.
Actually 7:30 to 4, Monday through Thursday. I mean, the other days of the
Yeah,
week, you know,
exactly.
at 7. So they end up working the 40 hours. But I remember what you said, we were cutting budgets, so we cut those hours, we cut the,
Everybody, I think, is cut down
our
to
employees
32
don't
hours or
work
something.
40 hours. And they're not getting paid for 40 hours, they're getting paid for the hours they work. So if we were going to do that, we would either have to give them comp time or,
Cut down another day.
yeah,
Yeah, or, well, we wouldn't do it with, like,
with all of them.
like
anyway.
he's saying, we would rotate people, so we wouldn't,
Right.
Yeah.
otherwise, we, you know, we,
But I think, you know, if we're going to do a survey for the website, I mean, maybe that should be
we could put in there to
too,
find out
and
what
see
people
That's
would
another
like.
good one, yeah. Looking at the
what
residents, yeah.
people think, you know? I mean, I've always been an advocate for being open late night. Someone wants a permit for a shed and they work in Boston, that's always been my argument. So unless we get it online,
Until we get it online.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be permanent, it just,
and the other thing is, almost every town now is doing permitting online,
Yeah.
as you know, and that's something that Abington's a little behind in, that I think we need to look at.
Yeah, no, and that's,
Because they all use, and you know this, and I know this, they all use one or two systems. So I'm registered in Boston, it could be the same system here in Abington, or Marshfield, or whatever.
Makes sense.
So, and Brockton is all online now. Marshfield has a new system going in effect Wednesday.
that's fun.
Anything else, guys? Take a motion.
Motion to close.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Good night, everybody.
That's 13 to go home.